It's every detective's nightmare, a crime that refuses to be solved. Years pass, evidence fades, witnesses disappear, but the questions remain, echoing through generations. These are 5 of the world's most chilling cold cases, stories of terror, obsession, and mystery that continue to haunt the world. Our first case takes us to Northern California in the late 1960s. Newspapers across San Francisco began receiving strange letters, each stamped with a cryptic symbol, a circle crossed by lines like a sniper's target. The writer called himself the Zodiac. In his letters, he described his murders in chilling detail, boasting about how police would never catch him. He even included coded messages claiming his identity was hidden inside them. Between 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac Killer shot and stabbed young couples in remote lovers' lanes. His victims included David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, and Paul Stein, a San Francisco cab driver gunned down in cold blood. At one crime scene, he even called police from a payphone, calmly confessing to the murders before hanging up. The Zodiac sent more than 20 letters, some decoded, others still unsolved. Despite massive investigations, no one was ever charged. Over the years, hundreds of suspects were proposed, from ex-convicts to journalists to retired military men. But each time, DNA tests and timelines ruled them out. More than 50 years later, his ciphers continued to be analyzed by amateur sleuths and codebreakers. The Zodiac's true identity remains one of America's darkest mysteries, proof that sometimes evil hides behind intellect. Our next story takes us back to Los Angeles in 1947, a city built on dreams, fame, and secrets. When a local resident discovered the mutilated body of a young woman in a vacant lot, the city froze in horror. The victim was Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress with jet black hair and striking blue eyes. Her body had been severed cleanly in half and drained of blood. The cuts were surgical, precise, deliberate. The press called her the Black Dahlia, after a popular noir film of the time. Detectives questioned hundreds of suspects, doctors, actors, even high-ranking officials. But every lead turned cold. Over the decades, theories multiplied. Some claimed the killer was a physician with a sadistic obsession. Others suggested it was part of a cover-up involving Hollywood's elite. Even with modern DNA testing, no definitive suspect has ever been proven guilty. To this day, Elizabeth Short's story remains the darkest chapter of old Hollywood, where glamour and death became inseparable. Now, let's cross the Atlantic to the cobblestone streets of London, 1888. The fog was thick, the air cold, and fear stalked the alleys of Whitechapel. One by one, women were found brutally mutilated, their throats slit, their bodies arranged in horrific ways. The killer taunted the world in letters signed Jack the Ripper. 5 victims were officially confirmed: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The brutality was unimaginable, the pattern undeniable. The Ripper seemed to vanish into the night after his last murder, leaving behind only theories. Some believed he was a butcher, others a surgeon, perhaps even a member of the royal family. Even now, more than a century later, the case is still studied, dissected, and debated. Modern DNA testing is pointed toward new suspects, but none with absolute certainty. Jack the Ripper remains the Phantom of London, a ghost that redefined the word serial killer. Fast forward to 2007, in a quiet seaside town in Portugal. A British family was on holiday, a young couple, Kate and Jerry McCann, and their 3 children. On the evening of May 3rd, while the parents dined at a nearby restaurant, their 3-year-old daughter, Madeleine McCann, vanished from the apartment. The window was open. The bed was empty. Within hours, the search became one of the largest in European history. Police, media, and volunteers flooded the area, but no trace of Madeleine was ever found. The case became a global obsession. Every photograph, every lead, every theory made headlines. Her parents were questioned, cleared, and re-questioned. Witnesses claimed sightings of a man carrying a child. New suspects appeared, then vanished. In 2020, German authorities named a convicted sex offender as the prime suspect. But even that lead remains unproven. Madeleine's disappearance remains unsolved, a haunting mystery that reminds us how, sometimes, even with the world watching, a child can vanish without a trace. Our final case takes us to Boulder, Colorado, in 1996, a wealthy, peaceful neighborhood just days after Christmas. Inside a luxurious home, police discovered a ransom note demanding $118,000 for the safe return of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey, a child beauty queen. Hours later, her father found her lifeless body in the basement of their own home. She had been strangled and struck on the head. The investigation turned chaotic. Police mishandled the crime scene, evidence was contaminated, and the media turned the tragedy into a spectacle. Suspicion fell on everyone, her parents, her brother, even mysterious intruders. DNA found on her clothing pointed to an unknown male, but the source was never identified. JonBenét's case became a symbol of everything that can go wrong in a high-profile investigation. Media frenzy, public judgment, and unanswered questions. Nearly 30 years later, theories still flood online forums. Was it a kidnapping gone wrong? A family secret? Or something far darker? 5 cases, 5 stories that never found an ending. Different decades, different victims, but one common thread. The truth remains buried. For every detective who's tried to solve them and every family still waiting for answers, these cold cases are more than unsolved crimes. They are scars on history, reminders that evil doesn't always hide in darkness. Sometimes it hides in plain sight.